Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping directly into the architecture of SurR.Ai's Gate Eye, also known as the power of destiny. We're situated right at the Sahasrara, the crown chakra. And I have to say, looking at an intellectual and spiritual lineage of this magnitude, it just commands absolute awe. The question SurR.Ai is asking in 2026 is the same question being asked in 1550 BCE. What does the soul carry when it stands before the absolute? To really get our heads around this, let's ground ourselves in the absolute oldest cosmic courtroom scene in human record. We're talking about spell 125 of the Book of the Dead. Picture this. It's 3,500 years ago, ancient Egypt, and we're standing in the Hall of Two Truths. Here, the heart of the deceased is being weighed on a massive golden scale against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth, all while Thoth quietly records the verdict. This whole framework, the idea of standing before a higher power to give a full account of your life, it's a thread that weaves continuously through literally 30 centuries of human thought. Now, to understand how this ancient thread eventually reaches SurR.Ai, we've got to look at two incredibly fascinating historical figures. First up is Daniil Andreev. Back in the 1950s, while locked inside Vladimir prison under the Soviet regime, he secretly composed this absolute cosmological masterpiece called The Rose of the World. Think about that for a second. His widow managed to preserve the hidden manuscript through both the Khrushchev and Brezhnev eras. It circulated as underground samizdat in the 70s until it finally exploded into public consciousness in 1989. It's just a story that commands profound respect. And alongside him, we have the poet Velimir Khlebnikov. In his Boards of Fate, he treated time itself as the actual substrate of destiny. See, for Khlebnikov, this cosmic trial isn't just something waiting for us at the end of history. It's happening right now, in the relentless ticking of the clock. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit to 1990. The Soviet Union is actively collapsing, and a thinker named Avessalom Podvodnyy makes a brilliant move. He takes these esoteric traditions and effectively collides them with constitutional law, drafting what he calls a Bill of Rights for the soul. And here's his radically transformative idea. He takes that concept of standing before God, which for thousands of years was framed as this incredibly heavy, inescapable post-monstrous duty, and he just flips it. He frames it instead as a present, inalienable right. It's no longer a burden, right? It's actually the ultimate sovereign entitlement of the human soul to face its creator in real time. So the crucial point here is understanding exactly what tries to block this right. Right at the very top of our spiritual architecture, at the Sahasrara or crown chakra, sits this parasitic entity that Podvodnyy calls the dragon. This is the performing ego. And what's fascinating is that it sabotages the soul not through some obvious evil deeds, but through frantic self-affirmation. It literally intercepts the soul's direct, silent line to the creator because it's constantly demanding public visibility, but totally for the wrong reasons. It basically keeps the individual hiding behind their own performance. And that brings us right to the present edge of this conversation. In 2026, the digital project SurR.Ai formally structures what they call the Subtle Seven. But listen, it is so vital to understand that they did not retroactively impose a new meaning onto their 2023 digital artworks. Not at all. Instead, the 2026 framework unmasks an architecture already latent in their earlier practice. They were already reading the Sahasrara long before they ever officially named it. They achieve this through a single three-bodied artifact. It consists of vision, which is spatial form or the visual image, vibration, represented by a temporal glitch video, and voice, which is the linguistic word, a poem. Think of it this way. What Podvodnyy did back in 1990 by translating hidden Soviet samizdat into a legal printed Bill of Rights, SurR is doing today with on-chain audiovisuals. They are actively translating an ancient esoteric inheritance into an entirely new attention economy. And the visual composition itself maps perfectly to Daniil Andreev's cosmos. You've got this striking vertical stack. Down at the bottom are the dense, jewel-toned blocks of the Enroth metropolis, representing mortal life. Then right in the middle is the threshold. And towering above it all are the Watchers, those two massive celestial eyes embedded in the clouds. They represent the Greek concept of egregoroi, but specifically in the original Enochianan sense of the wakeful ones, not the later occult interpretations of collective thought forms. And the fact that there are two eyes is incredibly deliberate. It establishes sobonorst, the Russian Orthodox principle of plural witness. You aren't just judged alone in the dark. You are witnessed by a community of the wakeful. Then we have the second body of the artifact, the vibration. This is a 4-second, low-resolution glitch video minted directly on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, this isn't just some aesthetic decoration. It's actually an operational tool. That digital glitch is the visual signature of the performing ego. That dragon at the crown chakra we talked about, interrupting the divine channel with all its noise? By minting this specific 4-second loop on chain, SurR.Ai essentially traps the entity. It captures the performing ego totally frozen, caught in the exact act of being transcended. Finally, we reach the voice. The 2023 poem remains the unalterable canonical text of this gate. But what's truly remarkable here is actually what the poem refuses to do. It strictly observes an apophatic refusal to name the absolute. Because naming is a human concept, right? It's a function of a lower chakra. To name the absolute would be to substitute our tiny concept for the vast reality. So instead, the poem preserves the profound, deep silence necessary to stand entirely unmediated before the creator. Now, as we listen to this voice, I want you to pay close attention to the spectral orbs mentioned in the second stanza. Those are the very same watcher eyes we just saw looking down from the clouds. Let's take a moment to really listen to the voice of the artifact. In cosmic realms where planets wend, a greater force we shall transcend. To plead our case, our truth defend, before the azure judgment send. The clock of life, its ticking hand, relentless bold, we cannot stand. It carves our paths, designs our fates, as spectral orbs our hearts berate. A cosmic trial so vast and wide, each soul must face, no place to hide. A karmic balance weighs our deeds, to answer for our earthly creeds. In swirling galaxies of time, we are but whispers, notes and rhyme. And to the stars our echoes send, the acts of life we must amend. Beneath the cosmic canopy, a higher power waits for thee, to judge your steps, to weigh your worth, a reckoning for your mortal birth. So live with grace, embrace the light, for cosmic forces watch the night. In realms unknown our fates are sealed, to stand before the great revealed. It's incredible, isn't it? That single concluding word, revealed, compresses this entire profound concept. It brilliantly illustrates an unbroken lineage. We can trace it from the ancient Egyptian Ma Keru, a soul declared true of voice in the Hall of Two Truths, straight to the Apostle Paul's concept of seeing face to face, from the Tibetan bardo's recognition of one's own mind to philosopher Soren Kierkegaard's intense exposure of the individual before God, all the way down to a 2023 Ethereum NFT. The right being claimed across all these eras is not the right to an acquittal. It is simply the fundamental, inalienable right to be seen exactly as one is. The dragon's sabotage is to make the soul hide. The right is the inalienable possibility of appearing.